Hi, Babblefish5 here. About a year ago, I got an email from a couple with a trail name of Dreamer and Socks, and they asked that I do a tuna casserole. So it's taken me about a year to get the recipe right to where it'll last quite a while on the trail. So that's what we're doing today, a tuna casserole on this episode of the Hungry Hammock Hanger. The shopping list for today is 2 6-ounce cans of premium tuna that have been drained and chopped up, 1 medium onion finely diced, 1 cup of green peas, and 10 ounces of sliced mushrooms, 6 ounces of yolk-free extra broad noodles, 2 tablespoons of olive oil, 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour, and then 2 teaspoons of salt. 4 ounces of low-fat shredded cheddar cheese, and 4 ounces of low-fat shredded Parmesan cheese. 1 cup of skim milk, and 1 3/4 cups of chicken broth. You're also going to need 1 9x12 casserole pan. Normally I try to avoid dairy products in meals that I'm going to pack. The fats and cheeses and milk can go rancid fairly quickly. In this case I really couldn't avoid that. So, what you want to do is to make sure you have as low fat of dairy products as possible. 2% milk is great, skim milk is the best. And then on your cheeses, you want to actually have as low fat a cheese as you can find. Now, surprisingly, you can dehydrate things like cheddar cheese, Colby, and Parmesan just fine, and they'll last about a year. But to increase your shelf life, make sure you get low fat versions of those as well. In a large skillet or a Dutch oven, get your olive oil hot and saute your onions for about 5 to 7 minutes until they turn translucent. Then put a teaspoon of your salt in and save the other teaspoon for later on. Then add your flour and saute for about 3 or 4 minutes until the flour gets to be, well, kind of a dark cream color. Then add your chicken broth and your milk and stir really well. Let this simmer for about 3 minutes and then add your green peas and your mushrooms. Stir up really well and let this simmer for another couple of minutes. Then take a few seconds to adjust your seasoning. In this case, I need a little extra salt. Then add your tuna fish and stir really well and let this simmer for another couple of minutes. Put the 6 ounces of egg noodles into your casserole dish. Then put your tuna casserole mix over it and get it spread really even. Then add your shredded cheddar cheese and your shredded Parmesan cheese over on top. Then put your casserole into a 375-degree oven and cook it for 25 minutes until it looks just like this. Then put your casserole onto fruit roll trays in your dehydrator or on cookie sheets if you're using your oven to dehydrate. Then dehydrate at 160 degrees for 8 to 10 hours. At about the 5-hour mark, you can flip your tuna casserole over and take it off the fruit roll trays. That'll help it to dehydrate much faster. It'll look like this when you're done. This recipe yields 6 to 8 servings, depending on your appetite. Break your dehydrated casserole into smaller pieces so it fits into your pot a little bit better. Then add enough water to where it's just barely over your tuna casserole. Let your tuna casserole sit for about 15 minutes to get a head start. Get your oven fueled up and lit, and let your tuna casserole come to a boil. You also want to let this boil for about 2 or 3 minutes after it's come to a boil to help get things thickened up. Then put your pot into a cozy and let it sit for about 15 minutes. Any experienced backpacker will tell you that things can go sideways on you really quick, and you have to be able to think on your feet to fix problems when they occur, like today. When I put the water in my tuna fish casserole, I put a little bit too much in there. So, after 15 minutes, it came out and the tuna fish casserole was still kind of watery. So, what I did to fix this was put it back on heat and let it boil for about 2 or 3 minutes, stirring constantly until it got to be the thickness that I wanted. That fixed things right up. Had I put too little and had to a little water, I'd have just added a little bit more water to it and let it boil for another few minutes and let it sit for another 10 or 15 minutes until it got to the consistency that I wanted. Either way, it's easy to fix and you can do it. All you have to do is put a little thought into it and you can make it happen. Once your tuna fish casserole is rehydrated, it's time to put your topping on it if you like to have a topping on it. Some people like to have breadcrumbs on the top of it, or those little French fried onions. Those are great. Now's the time to put those on. If you were to put them in with your vacuum packing with your meal and rehydrate them with it, that'll end up just being a goop, and that's just not good eating. So there you have it, tuna fish casserole for the trail. Thanks to Socks and Dreamer for suggesting it. Sorry it's taken so long to get this episode out to you. You can find hints and suggestions on this recipe and others on the Hungry Hammock Hanger website, or you can go to the Hungry Hammock Hanger Facebook page and ask questions if you have any questions about this recipe. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you on the trail.